I'm Nikki DeMarco, and this video is a short overview of my Creativity and Metacognition workshop, an embodied learning experience that explores how we think, how we feel, how we create, and how our internal state shapes everything we do in the classroom and beyond. My work sits at the intersection of art, psychology, neuroscience, and education. And at the heart of it is a simple but powerful principle. State comes before strategy. We cannot think well, create well, or learn well when we are in the wrong state. And understanding this changes everything about how we teach, how we support young people, and how we understand ourselves as learners. The workshop isn't about teaching art, it's about revealing the invisible dynamics that make creativity possible. The moments when the mind opens, the moments when it narrows, and the moments when something unexpected appears because we were finally present enough to notice it. Setting the context. We begin with context, why creative intelligence matters now. For more than a century, our systems of education and work were shaped by the industrial age, a world built on efficiency, repetition, and control. We were rewarded for getting things right, not for questioning them. We learned to equate success with obedience and certainty, not curiosity or courage. And creativity, the capacity to think differently, was often treated as a problem to be managed. But the world has changed. We're now living in the age of AI, where machines can already do what the industrial model trained us to do: repeat, optimize, and replicate patterns. If education continues to reward those same traits, we'll raise humans who can't compete with machines, or worse, humans who forget how to feel. AI can generate pattern, but it cannot generate meaning. It can calculate, but it cannot care. And that is precisely what distinguishes us, our ability to discern what matters, to imagine possibilities, and to act with awareness. That's the foundation of creative intelligence. Psychologist Robert Sternberg describes 3 kinds of intelligence: analytical, practical, and creative. Creative intelligence is the one that allows us to adapt, to use imagination, intuition, and insight to respond to new and unpredictable situations. It includes traits like curiosity, risk-taking, divergent thinking, empathy, discernment, and resilience. And these are exactly the capacities the world needs most now, in education, business, and leadership, because data can tell us what is, but only imagination can glimpse what might be. Defining creativity. Creativity itself is often misunderstood. It is commonly believed that a simple definition is: creativity is when 2 or more existing elements are combined in a new way that reveals something about the world. It's not invention from nothing, it's connection. But connection requires awareness of self, of others, of the systems we move within. It's not about producing something, it's about perceiving differently. It's awareness in motion, the ability to notice what's happening, to feel its significance, and to respond consciously. The pathway. One of the most important ideas in this workshop is the pathway that links our state, our mode of thinking, our cognitive functions, and the depth of perception available to us. This pathway explains why some students freeze, why others rush, and why some find clarity naturally, and why others live in chaos or overthinking. State. We always begin in the body. Our state, whether we are anxious, grounded, overloaded, open, distracted, or regulated, determines what becomes possible in the mind. If the system is stressed, closed, or overwhelmed, creative thinking collapses. If the body is grounded and receptive, thinking expands. Mode: Divergent, Convergent. Our state determines which mode becomes available. When we feel open, safe, and curious, we shift into divergent thinking, the imaginative, associative, playful mode where new ideas appear. When we feel focused, steady, or ready to refine, we enter convergent thinking, the mode where we select, edit, decide, and clarify. Creativity depends on movements between these modes, not on living at one end of the spectrum. Jung's 4 functions. Each mode gives us access to different functions of consciousness, which Jung described as sensation, thinking, feeling, and intuition. Sensation experiences directly the texture, the sound, the weight, the rhythm. Thinking organizes and analyzes. Feeling evaluates, not emotionally, but through value. Does this feel true for me? And intuition perceives what's unseen, the possibilities waiting to emerge. Each of us tends to favor one or two of these functions, but real creativity and real self-awareness asks for balance between them. When we teach art as purely technical, we privilege sensation and thinking. When we include feeling and intuition, we invite students to work with their whole psyche. It's not just about observing the world, but entering into relationship with it. When our state is wrong, whole functions become inaccessible. When state is right and modes are fluid, all 4 can come online. And that's where creativity becomes integrated, embodied, and meaningful. Steiner's 4 levels of perception. Our functions shape the level of perception available to us. Steiner's 4 ways of knowing show how perception evolves through deeper forms of attention. The first is sense perception, what we can observe and measure. The second is imaginative cognition, where the image starts to move and reform in the mind. The third is inspired cognition, when we begin to feel the rhythm between things. And the final one is intuitive cognition, when the boundary between observer and observed dissolves, and we experience ourselves as part of the whole. When state, mode, and functions align, we can move through all 4 levels. When they don't, we get stuck at the surface. This isn't mystical, it's a progression from surface to depth, from outer seeing to inner participation. Each of these levels has value, and we need them all, but in education we often stop at the first one. We teach observation drawing, but not imaginative perception. We teach analysis, but not intuition. And yet, creative intelligence depends on all 4. When we move through them consciously, we start to see with the whole self. This is the foundation of the workshop. The deeper the state, the deeper the perception. And that's what awareness really is, perception becoming participation. Awareness. Before anything else, we build awareness, because without recognizing our internal patterns, we cannot shift them. We explore how divergent and convergent thinking work, why both matter, and how the movement between them is where creativity actually lives. We look at the invisible rhythm of the creative mind and how this rhythm is disrupted by stress, perfectionism, fear of the unknown, or the pressure to be right. The neuroscience supports this beautifully. Across multiple studies, we see that creativity is a dynamic process shaped by a balance between stillness and action. Dopamine plays a role on both sides of the creative loop. It allows the mind to open into imagination and associative thinking, and it also supports the energy and persistence needed to refine, shape, and complete work. Stillness brings insight. movement brings clarity, and state determines which one we have access to. Divergent thinking, the ability to generate broad, meaningful ideas by combining many experiences, tends to grow with age, because it depends on an internal library of lived experience. Children excel in imaginative and symbolic thinking, but adults bring depth and interconnection. This understanding reshapes how we approach creativity in the classroom. Awareness gives language to our experience. Language gives us clarity, and clarity gives us the capacity to change. Embodiment. Once we understand the theory, we move into embodiment, because understanding that stays in the head never transforms anything. Here the workshop becomes visceral, because creativity is not merely cognitive. It is emotional, physical, and deeply somatic. We start with a short guided drawing experience that involves a journey of structure, disruption, intuition, and integration. The steps are not revealed in advance because the power of the task lies in the lived state shift, not in the instructions. The structured phase brings tightening, focus, and narrowness. The disrupted phase releases control and opens space. The intuitive phase reveals instinct, preference, and pattern. And the integration phase shows how clarity arises naturally when we stop forcing outcomes. Bodies tell the truth before minds do. How quickly we can judge ourselves, how easily we can lose trust in uncertainty, how strongly we cling to control, or how alive things feel when we finally let the hand lead. This is where the workshop becomes personal, because the drawing is a mirror. It reflects the inner patterns we carry everywhere, in teaching, in learning, and in life. The final phase is integration, where everything comes together into a clear framework you can take back into the classroom. We use the 3Ds of creative intelligence. Disrupt, loosening rigid patterns, opening possibility, shifting state. Discern, recognizing what matters, what feels alive, and what is ready to move forwards. Deliver, taking aligned action with clarity, presence, and confidence. These 3 stages help teachers recognize what students need long before they intervene. A student who is shut down doesn't need a strategy, they need disruption. A student swimming in ideas doesn't need more freedom, they need discernment. A student who hesitates doesn't need more pressure, they need support to deliver with clarity. When we begin using state, mode, functions, and perception as a lens, everything changes. The way we plan lessons, the way we respond to students, and the way we understand our own creative process. Integration also asks for honesty. We meet our shadow here, the parts of ourselves that resist change, the perfectionist, the controller, the one who fears failure. When we ignore those parts, they lead us unconsciously. When we face them, they integrate. The same is true collectively. We see the shadow at work in world leadership, when power is driven by fear, ego, or impulse without reflection. It's what Jung called possession by the unconscious. Without awareness, authority becomes tyranny, confidence becomes arrogance, and intelligence becomes cruelty. That's why self-knowledge is not indulgence, it's ethical necessity. Awareness becomes conscience. Daniel Priestley calls these the new currencies: self-awareness, discernment, and collaboration, the very skills that define creative intelligence in practice. So, what did this all reveal? That creative intelligence is not a skill to be taught. It's a capacity to be remembered. It's what happens when awareness, embodiment, and integration come into rhythm. Creativity is not a talent. It's a relational process between the psyche, the body, and the world. And metacognition is simply the moment we become aware of that relationship, the moment we recognize our patterns and learn how to shift them. In a world shaped by uncertainty and constant change, creative intelligence becomes an essential human capacity, the ability to navigate complexity with curiosity, clarity, and courage. AI will continue to master pattern, but only humans can feel meaning. Only we can transform uncertainty into art and emotion into understanding. Through art, we return to ourselves. We remember how to see, how to feel, and how to be. And each time we enter that process, each time we face the unknown, something in us is renewed.